Let me ask you guys something. Have you ever known a pregnant woman? Well, let me tell you something. If you ever have, you better stop saying pregnant woman right now. That's right. According to the British Medical Association, it is now offensive to call pregnant women expecting mothers. This was in A Guide to Effective Communication, Inclusive Language in the Workplace that was released for the British Medical Association, and this was actually only released for its staff. But anyway, it was released to its staff in just how to conduct themselves with other people and when they're doing research. But how ridiculous is this? You cannot call a pregnant woman an expected mother. And the reason for this is because the BMA feels that saying expectant mothers is offensive to other transgender people. Yeah. And I don't believe they wrote this because they got some pressure by the LGBT community to do something about this, about how it's offensive to them. I'm pretty sure the BMA just decided one day that they could see it as offensive, and then we cannot call pregnant women expectant mothers. And probably pregnant women in and of its own very soon is going to be seen as, oh no, that's too far. Oh, you can't say pregnant women. Pregnant women is a cisgendered, privileged way to look at the world. Goddamn fucking bigot, transphobic motherfucker. So the new term they want everybody to use now is, are you ready for this? Pregnant people. Pregnant people is what they want to classify pregnant women as. It's exactly how I feel. Along in this pamphlet, they also listed a number of other terms that are considered taboo these days. Well, at least according to the BMA. So along the things that are different now is the elderly are now to be called older people. How does this even make a fucking difference, elderly to older people? Does it really make them feel that much younger? The disability lifts are now accessibility lifts. Biological male and female are now assigned male or female. Take it away, George.
I don't like words that hide the truth. I don't like words that conceal reality. I don't like euphemisms or euphemistic language. And American English is loaded with euphemisms because Americans have a lot of trouble dealing with reality. Americans have trouble facing the truth. So they invent a kind of a soft language to protect themselves from it. And it gets worse with every generation. For some reason, it just keeps getting worse.
So those are the ones that were absolutely taboo that we needed to change. But along with this, they ended up posting a bunch of terms that should be just avoided altogether, that you should not use. These include born man or born woman in relation to trans people, as these phrases are reductive and oversimplifying a complex subject. While it is a complicated subject, we can break it down to very simple terms. If you have 2 X chromosomes, you're a woman. If you have an X and a Y chromosome, you're a guy. That's the way it works. So it's actually not a complex subject. You have men, you have women, and I will even say there is a spectrum to men and women, as in that some men have more feminine qualities than masculine qualities. So sure, there's a spectrum, but you're still born to a specific sex. You're either male or you're female. But when you start wanting to go off the spectrum and you want 70, 80, 90, 100 different genders, over 9,000 genders, then we have a problem because the science doesn't back that up. The science says that there are 2 genders. Now, in terms of somebody just transitioning male to female or female to male, I think I think that still people are born in their own bodies, but I can at least understand more of a transition from one to the other for some people. Some people, it seems kind of obvious to me. It's just people that you've known your entire life. It's like that a lot with gay people. There was like that one of that guy. There was one guy like that in my school. Everybody, he came from Christian parents. Everybody in the school for years waited for him to come out. When we all got out of high school, within a year or two, he finally came out of the closet, and he tells everyone, he's like, hey guys, I'm gay. And everybody says, yeah, we know. We've known for years. We've known for years. We've been waiting for you to catch up. And this is the same thing I find. There's just some guys that I've known that if I found out that they were more female at heart, I could actually believe it. But that doesn't mean that they're not suffering from some sort of mental disorder. It's just nobody wants to say that. They wanted to see it as it's just a natural part of the world. It's not a natural part of the world. People are being born in your own sex is the natural part. Oh boy, I wonder how much hate people are going to send me for this. Elsewhere, staff are told to substitute the word surname or last name instead of using family name. Why? Because we're going to offend some people now that haven't really had much of a good family experience? Is that why? That's still their fucking family name. Mankind and manpower should be avoided because it's not good practice to use a masculine noun instead of swapped for humanity. And personnel. Yeah. Personnel power or personnel kind. And listing prefixes for names such as Prof, Dr, Mr, Mrs, or Miss should be put in a particular order on forms that avoid a perceived hierarchy. So that way it's not Mr first and Mrs next, but that way there's no possible way that people would see it that way.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
This is just getting ridiculous these days. If we can't even put down Mr. or Mrs. in particular order anymore, how the fuck are we ever going to progress in life? I'm serious. When we have a real problem, how the hell are we supposed to overcome it if we're worried about a perceived hierarchy on a goddamn form that's a professor, doctor, Mr., Mrs., Miss? We're screwed. I mean, these social justice warriors have just put their roots into absolutely everything. Is there anything left that remains untouched? They've gotten themselves into sports, especially recently. They've gotten themselves into the humanities, and now they're seeping themselves into the hard science. Now, the British Medical Institute is adhering to this politically correct terminology and these SJWs ideology. What sort of destructive path is this going to take us down? Because this postmodern doctrine that keeps getting pushed, if we can't even talk about real facts anymore in places where it is necessary, such as the medical field or chemistry, how long until physics gets touched and suddenly something in physics is sexist? I'm really waiting for somebody to say that in math, when you're using the Cartesian plane, the graph, we have the vertical line, which is the y, and then we also have the horizontal line, which is the x. I'm waiting for somebody to say that because they use x and y, which would, if we're taking those in terms of chromosomes, would mean a man. I'm waiting them for say that using the Cartesian plane as it is, using the x and the y, is sexist because it's promoting male dominance or something like that. You wait. Next few years, I'm guaranteeing you something like that is going to come out. But moving on this article, a representative from the BMA ended up saying, quote, "Gender inequality is reflected in traditional ideas about the roles of women and men. Though they have shifted over time, the assumptions and stereotypes that underpin those ideas are often deeply rooted. A large majority of people that have been pregnant or have given birth identify as women." That's because women give birth. We can include intersex men and trans men who may get pregnant by saying pregnant people instead of expectant mothers. Intersex men and trans men. Those are women who transition to men. They are not men giving birth. This is completely stupid because they're acting like it's actually people who were born with a dick that somehow have gotten pregnant. No, they were born as a woman with all the factors that allow them to get pregnant, and then they transition to a guy. So no, trans men and intersex men cannot have babies. Women can have babies. If intersex men and trans men are pregnant, that's mean they are biologically women who have transitioned to men. It recently emerged that a Briton who was born a girl but wants to become a man has put surgery on hold in order to have a baby. Hayden Cross, 20, is legally male and had hormone treatments but not yet had sex change surgery. There are no other known cases of a transitioning person becoming pregnant in the UK. So they're doing this because one person who is transitioning to men put themselves on hold, gave birth, and then is going to continue transitioning to a man. This is stupid. Fucking stupid. However, Heather Ashton from the transgender support group TG Pals said, quote, "We know that the biological females are the pregnant ones, but trans people are parents too, and this is a massive step forward to prevent discrimination against them. The fact that the terminology is changing can only be a positive thing for everyone who wants to be a parent and has the right to be a parent." Nobody said they can't be parents. What we said is they can't give birth. That is a scientific fact. So there's no reason to change this terminology around of pregnant women. And if one of these intersex men or intersex or trans men do get pregnant, then they're going to be parents anyway. There's nothing stopping them from being parents because they're going to give birth to a child. So doing this was irrelevant. What this person, Heather Ashton, said was fucking stupid. She's an idiot. The people at the British Medical Association are fucking dumb, and they're goddamn PhD scientists.